Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're cutting through the noise on a word that's just everywhere, constantly echoing innovation. It's so much more than just a buzzword, isn't it? It feels like it's literally the engine driving all progress, whether you're, launching a tiny startup or steering a global giant. Our mission for you, our listener, is to take a really focused deep dive into driving innovation. We're pulling insights directly from George Bickerstaff's foundational work and those fascinating discussions from the global leaders. Our goal here is to extract those truly important nuggets of knowledge. What innovation really is, why it's more critical than ever right now, and importantly, how you can actively cultivate it, whatever your role. We're going to explore how creating value in new ways, solving problems with creativity, and, staying ahead of constant change isn't just accidental. It actually demands vision, smart infrastructure, deep collaboration, and, a good dose of courage.
And, when you zoom out, what's really evident is that the ability to innovate has become the prime differentiator across every sector imaginable: business, healthcare, government, even education. The organizations consistently shaping the future, they're the ones that have truly mastered driving innovation rather than, simply reacting to the world around them.
That sets a powerful context. So, okay, let's really dig into the core definition then. Sure. Beyond the shiny new gadgets or like a fancy app, what is innovation at its heart? What's the maybe fundamental misconception people often have about it?
Well, what the sources, especially Bickerstaff's work, make clear is that innovation is fundamentally about translating new ideas into tangible value. It's about impact, right?
Yeah.
Not just the invention itself. The misconception is often limiting it to that eureka moment in a lab. But true innovation is actually much broader.
Okay. I can see how that reframes it. So it's really about tangible solutions, creating actual value, not just, novelty for novelty's sake. Can you give us some examples, maybe ones that aren't solely about the latest tech breakthrough?
Absolutely. Think about a hospital, for instance. They might innovate by completely reorganizing their patient care model, maybe drastically reducing wait times for critical procedures. That improves patient outcomes and satisfaction. Huge value. Or maybe a teacher, right? Who uses gamification techniques not just for fun, but to genuinely improve student engagement and measurable learning outcomes. These aren't necessarily brand new inventions, but they are novel solutions creating immense value. The sources highlight that true innovation often blends keen insight, a real sense of urgency, and crucially, flawless execution. It's about solving real problems in novel ways, ideally at scale. And what's fascinating, or maybe concerning, is that when organizations narrowly define innovation, maybe limiting it only to R&D or software development, they really risk overlooking these powerful opportunities across their entire operation.
That distinction really resonates. Impact creating real value, not just the idea. Okay, so impact is the North Star. Why is it so critical now? What are the forces driving that urgency today?
Well, we're in an era of just unprecedented speed, aren't we? Whether it's tech advancements, societal shifts, economic volatility, ecological challenges, it's constant. In this environment, standing still truly means falling behind. Innovation isn't just about growth anymore. It's really about enabling adaptation. It's creating sustainable competitive advantage, addressing evolving customer and citizen needs faster, and ultimately building resilience. Without it, you're basically just waiting for disruption to happen to you.
And we've seen this play out so dramatically very recently, haven't we?
Indeed. Look at the COVID-19 pandemic. Innovation wasn't just a nice to have. It was the absolute difference between crisis and, some level of control. We saw vaccine development accelerated by decades, literally decades, not years, through these novel collaborative models. Remote work, telemedicine, once kind of niche, they became mainstream almost overnight. Nonprofits had to shift their entire service delivery to digital tools just to survive. Or consider the fintech sector. These startups aren't just making banking easier, they're fundamentally reshaping how financial services are delivered and accessed globally. These are profound shifts.
Wow. It really sounds like innovation isn't just your growth strategy anymore. For many organizations, it's becoming the very fabric of their survival plan. What often strikes me after reading these sources is how innovation isn't just about that sudden flash of brilliance. It feels like it's so much more about the conditions, the environment that allows those ideas to flourish. And it seems culture is right at the heart of that, wouldn't you say? This is where it gets really interesting.
You've hit on a core truth there, absolutely. Innovation, you just can't mandate it from a boardroom. It has to be embedded deep in an organization's culture. This means actively encouraging curiosity, celebrating thoughtful experimentation, and critically destigmatizing failure. And it's not just about saying failure is okay. As Bickerstaff points out, truly innovative cultures actually engineer for learning from failure. They create things like blameless postmortems not to assign fault, but to dissect the process, understand what went wrong, and refine future experiments. It's about making the learning from failure so valuable that taking the risk becomes a rational, maybe even celebrated act. Teams need that psychological safety, to take bold risks. And leaders, they must model vulnerability and flexibility themselves.
That's a fascinating concept, almost counterintuitive for some traditional companies, right? That vulnerability can actually be a kind of superpower for innovation. And what about fostering collaboration within that culture? How important is breaking down silos?
Oh, collaboration is absolutely vital. Silos within an organization are just, well, they're innovation killers because the most groundbreaking ideas often emerge from those cross-disciplinary conversations or even unlikely pairings of people and departments. There was an example from the global leaders discussion, I think. A tech firm saw something like a 15% increase in viable new product ideas simply by introducing mandatory experimentation days. Days where failure was explicitly embraced and shared across teams. It really raises an important question for any organization listening. Is your culture genuinely designed to make innovation feel safe and truly collaborative?
That's a powerful question for leaders to reflect on. Okay, so culture sets the stage, it nurtures those sparks. But how do we turn those good ideas to actual scalable transformation? Structure seems like the next critical piece.
Precisely. Having a brilliant idea is, well, it's just the beginning, isn't it? What truly turns innovation into transformation is having a robust structure in place. This includes things like appropriate funding models. Think about how some organizations, according to global leaders, set aside specific moonshot budgets. These are separate from quarterly P&Ls specifically to de-risk truly novel long-term ventures. That financial separation, that's a structural innovation in itself. It also includes dedicated testing environments, effective data systems so you can actually learn from experiments, and clear, well-understood decision-making processes.
And it's not just for the private sector, right? These structural approaches seem like they apply much more broadly.
Not at all, no. Many companies create internal innovation labs or entrepreneurship programs to foster new ideas from within, or they actively partner with startups, universities. Governments are now creating regulatory sandboxes for policy innovation. That allows for experimental approaches to complex societal issues without, immediate full-scale deployment risk. And nonprofits, they build innovation hubs to co-create solutions directly with the communities they serve. Structure really ensures that innovation isn't just some side project, but becomes a fundamental integrated part of daily operations.
Okay, that makes sense. And that brings us to the third pillar you mentioned, technology. How does technology fit into this picture? Is it the be-all and end-all of innovation, as some people seem to think?
Technology is, well, it's undeniably both a powerful tool and a significant trigger for innovation, no doubt about it. It enables faster iteration of ideas, more data-driven decision-making, and significantly greater global reach. Think of transformative technologies like AI for complex pattern recognition, blockchain for secure, decentralized ledgers, IoT where connected devices gather real-time data that unlocks entirely new service models,
Yeah.
and biotech, of course. These are fundamentally reshaping entire industries. However, and this is crucial, without clear goals and robust frameworks for how they are applied, technology alone doesn't automatically equal innovation.
Ah, right. So it's not just about having the latest shiny tech, but how thoughtfully you actually apply it to a real problem.
Exactly. Smart organizations pair their tech investment with human-centered design. With inclusive problem solving, they consistently ask, okay, what is the real problem we're trying to solve here and for whom? The underlying principle should always be that technology serves people, enhancing their lives, addressing their needs, not the other way around.
Okay, so we've covered the foundations. What innovation is, why it's so critical today, and those pillars of culture, structure, and technology. But what happens when the pressure's really, really on? Our sources show that some of the world's most impactful innovations actually emerge during times of intense crisis. That seems paradoxical.
It does seem paradoxical, but it's a remarkably consistent pattern throughout history. Crisis acts as a powerful, albeit often brutal, catalyst. Whether it's war, pandemics, economic collapses, or environmental disasters, these extreme situations force rapid, unconventional thinking and bold action. Again, the COVID-19 pandemic is such a prime recent example. Vaccine development compressed by decades, remote work and telemedicine going mainstream in weeks, not years. What happened essentially was that crises compressed timeframes. They removed layers of bureaucratic red tape almost instantly, and they forced leaders to make decisions they might have agonized over for years in normal times. It really tests leadership and frequently leads to long-term innovation that might otherwise have taken generations to develop. It's like necessity truly is the mother of invention, as they say, pushing us past our comfort zones, maybe removing those barriers we didn't even realize were holding us back. But what are the usual roadblocks? The things that stop innovation when there isn't a massive crisis forcing our hand.
Right, that's the flip side of the coin, isn't it? Even without a crisis, innovation faces significant, often deeply ingrained obstacles. Things like complacency, just being comfortable with the status quo, stifling bureaucracy, a pervasive risk-aversion culture, and, honestly, consistent underinvestment in exploration. Large organizations in particular often resist change because legacy systems feel safe and familiar. The irony, of course, is that clinging to outdated processes can actually be far riskier on the long run than experimenting with new ones. Other common barriers include a genuine fear of failure, personal or organizational, a lack of consistent, visible leadership support, and unclear metrics. Sometimes leaders say they want innovation, but their incentive structures, their reward systems, end up promoting conformity instead. That's a subtle but absolutely critical point there. It takes more than just lip service from the top.
It really does. Removing these barriers requires unwavering commitment from leadership, absolutely, but also genuine buy-in from the ground up. This raises, I think, an important question for leaders listening. How can you foster an environment that truly embraces progress and proactively challenges these inherent barriers, rather than just waiting for the next crisis to expose them?
And that leads us directly, I think, to the power of an innovative mindset, particularly in leadership. It's not just about what you do structurally, but how you think.
Absolutely. Innovation fundamentally begins with mindset. Leaders who actively model curiosity, adaptability, and yes, courage. They set the entire tone for their organizations. An innovative mindset isn't afraid of not having all the answers. It's one that asks better questions, listens more than it speaks, learns as it goes. It actively invites disruption rather than fearing it. It views failure not as some kind of endpoint, but as a tuition for future success. It's a data point, not a judgment. As Steve Jobs famously put it, innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower.
That quote really drives it home. And thinking about mindset, it's also about who's involved in the process, right? Not just the leaders in the C-suite.
Oh, absolutely crucial. The most impactful innovation, the kind that really sticks and scales, always includes the broadest possible range of voices. Diversity, both cognitive diversity and demographic diversity, doesn't just make organizations feel good. It demonstrably drives better ideas, deeper empathy for users and customers, and ultimately more equitable and sustainable outcomes. Organizations that learn to design with people, not just for them, tend to create far more resilient and relevant solutions. This means actively soliciting input from everyone, from frontline employees who often have those overlooked and valuable insights, to community partners who might see blind spots internal teams completely miss. Innovation truly belongs to everyone.
That's a great point about inclusion, making it everyone's game. Now, for something that often trips people up, how do you actually measure innovation? It feels so qualitative sometimes, almost intangible.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, no question. But, as the saying goes, if you can't measure it, you really can't manage it effectively. While it's not always straightforward, you can use key performance indicators or KPIs. Things like the number of ideas tested, maybe the time to market for new offerings, improvements in customer satisfaction that are directly linked to new solutions, or even the actual ROI from specific innovation initiatives. But it's not just about the hard numbers. More qualitative indicators also matter immensely. Things like employee engagement and idea generation, or stakeholder perception of your organization's adaptability and forward-thinking nature. The key, I think, is not to let the search for perfect metrics become the enemy of progress. Choose indicators that genuinely reflect your values and strategic goals, and be prepared to be flexible with them as you learn.
Right. So what does all this mean for you, our listener? At the end of the day, it means thinking about how you approach problems, how you embrace change, and how you lead, no matter your role in pretty much every aspect of your life and work. This isn't just abstract theory. It really feels like a practical framework. Okay, that was a truly comprehensive deep dive into driving innovation. Let's try to quickly recap some of the key takeaways and maybe some crucial actions for you.
Let's distill it. Okay, first, remember innovation isn't just about invention. It's fundamentally about solving problems in new ways that create tangible value, real impact. And if you're thinking about action, step one has to be creating systems that actively reward learning, not just immediate short-term results.
Right, good one. And second, Culture, structure, and leadership, they aren't just buzzwords. They are absolutely critical to sustained innovation. They're the scaffolding, really. So action two, actively encourage cross-functional collaboration and genuine idea sharing. Break down those silos.
Exactly. My third point would be that technology is a powerful tool, a fantastic enabler, but it is not the goal. People are. So the action. Invest in tools and spaces for experimentation, yes, but always, always with a human-centered approach.
Okay. Fourth, crisis can, surprisingly perhaps, catalyze rapid innovation when it's paired with bold leadership. It's about seizing those moments, not shrinking from them. And the action here, consciously include diverse voices at every stage of innovation to ensure a richer, more robust outcome.
And finally, number 5, inclusive, measured, and purpose-driven innovation is what builds lasting impact. So the action, regularly review what's working and, just as critically, what needs rethinking. Be willing to adapt.
Great summary. So on the flip side then, what are some crucial pitfalls, things to actively avoid?
Okay, pitfalls. First, definitely don't fall into the common trap of equating innovation only with technology. It's a much, much broader concept than that. Second, never punish failure that genuinely comes from smart risk-taking and a desire to learn. That just kills future attempts.
Good point. Third, maybe don't centralize innovation in a single innovation team and expect them to do all the heavy lifting. The action is to make it everyone's job, everyone's responsibility somehow. Fourth, don't ignore those invaluable frontline insights or customer feedback. That's often where the real problems and potential solutions truly live.
Absolutely. And my final action not to take. Don't wait for disruption to force change upon you. Don't be reactive. Instead, cultivate the mindset and the structures to lead change yourself. So maybe as you look ahead and reflect on this deep dive, ask yourself this question. Am I actively leading change, or am I just waiting to be changed?
That is a powerful question to leave you with. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into driving innovation. We really hope these insights inspire you to apply them, to foster that innovative mindset, and to continue your own journey of discovery.